This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Janet Stewart is off tonight. A Blumenort woman wants justice after her stepfather was charged in her brother's death. Relatives say 27-year-old Dylan Jones died earlier this month after being shot in his mother's home. Few details have been released by investigators, leaving the victim's sister with more questions than answers. CBC's Josh Crabb reports.
A family barbecue in Blumenort August 1st turned fatal. Steinbach RCMP and paramedics were called to Crestview Lane around 7:45 and found Dylan Jones with critical injuries. The 27-year-old was shot in his stepfather and mother's home and died.
All I remember is seeing my mother's street taped off and cops everywhere and people were outside. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
Dylan's sister, Chanel Jones, was on her way home from the gym and found out through another relative her younger brother had been shot. 43-year-old Corey J. Davis, who Chanel identified as their stepfather, was charged by RCMP the next day with criminal negligence causing death with a firearm.
I don't know how I'm processing it. I'm just so confused and hurt.
The RCMP says Davis was arrested at the home and wasn't hurt. Few other details have been released. Police aren't saying why the criminal negligence charge was laid, leaving Chanel with more questions than answers. She hopes there is justice for her brother.
My niece, my nephew, my son, they call him Uncle Dylan. He's the fun uncle. And everybody loved him. He was just such a good person, a sweet soul, genuine, everything. He did not deserve this.
Chanel says Dylan was close with Davis, who was also charged with multiple firearms offenses. Court records show Davis has previous convictions for aggravated assault in 2015 and assault in 2010 and 2007. Chanel knew Davis spent time in custody but didn't know the extent of his criminal record. She says Dylan, Davis, and her mom had a barbecue before her brother was shot. According to his sister, Dylan moved to Blumenort to get away from struggles with alcohol in Winnipeg and to be closer to family.
What I keep going back on is my brother's supposed to be able to go to my mom's house and feel safe, and it's just sick to think that that's where he was supposed to be safe and feel safe, and that's where it happened.
She says Dylan was a rapper and enjoyed music. He was supposed to have a concert coming up with their brother. Now the family is left planning his funeral. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Blumenort.
RCMP are investigating after a body was found in the RM of St. Andrews. Police were called after the remains were discovered Thursday in a wooded area off Highway 9. They have not yet figured out who it is or how they died. The medical examiner is also investigating. A third person has been charged in the death of a 50-year-old man in West Broadway. Police say George Demos was stabbed to death Saturday, August 5th. Two others have already been charged with second-degree murder. A 22-year-old man is now also facing charges. The victim was found in an alley off Furby Street. Police say Demos had been involved in a fight between 7 people just hours before the murder. The brawl took place in a fast food drive-thru at Portage and Sherbrooke. Investigators are now asking anyone in the area with surveillance video to give them a call. Well, booze was flying off the shelves over the weekend as liquor and lottery staff remained on strike. One of the owners of a general store outside Winnipeg was shocked by how fast his inventory was snapped up. Mike Fairs got back to Lockport Grocery Sunday after a holiday in Grand Beach and was met by empty shelves. Only 2 government-owned liquor marts were open to the public in Winnipeg this weekend, so people turned to licensed stores just outside the city to get their weekend bevies. Fairs says the uncertainty about whether or not products will be available has led people to buy more than usual.
You get a delivery in this past week, it's been like a lot of people are panic buying. They see that we have alcohol and they want to grab as much as they can just because it's trying times right now. So it's a little hairy sometimes.
5 liquor marts in Winnipeg were open today with reduced hours. Well, nearly 24 Winnipegs were forced out of their homes by a serious fire. It happened yesterday morning at an apartment building on Mountain Avenue between Salter and Aikens in the St. John's neighborhood. Smoke and flames were bursting from the balconies in the back. Firefighters first made sure everyone was out of the building, then tackled the flames with aerial ladders. Platoon Chief Brent Cheater says the fire spread from a second-floor suite out onto the balcony, then spread to the roof.
It's a brick building, wood frame interior walls, wood floor joists. So once it gets going into the walls and whatnot, it expands through the wall system and up into the roof.
Some residents who were displaced waited in a transit bus as crews fought the fire. Emergency Social Services has since found temporary accommodations for 25 people. One person was treated by paramedics. Fire crews are still checking on the building every few hours to extinguish any hotspots. Well, Manitoba's political parties are jockeying for position as the election approaches. Today, the NDP hammered the PC's record on health care, while the Liberals bragged about some of their newest candidates. CBC's Ian Fraze joins us live from the newsroom. Ian, what is the NDP arguing?
Yeah, that PC promises on health care cannot be trusted. The NDP was out in Southdale today, the riding of Health Minister Audrey Gordon. The NDP argued that in the 6 years since the PCs took over as government in 2016, the Tories promised nearly $2 billion in capital spending, but only spent around $1.3 billion. NDP health critic Uzoma Asaguera says that leftover cash could have improved healthcare.
This money could have meant new emergency rooms for communities that need them. It could have meant more personal care home beds, hundreds of personal care home beds, and it could have meant new cancer care facilities.
Deputy Premier Cliff Cullen says construction projects can be delayed, and he says he's not surprised the NDP doesn't seem to get this, since Cullen says the NDP has a tendency of putting Manitoba into debt.
Meanwhile, the Liberals celebrated their new candidates today. They're about to nominate 5 women, including a vocal advocate during the pandemic. Ian, who have the Liberals brought to their team?
Yeah, the most recognizable one is Eddie Calisteo Tavares. She spoke often to media, demanding better care at personal care homes. Her dad died at the Maples personal care home outbreak during the COVID pandemic that killed 57 people. She went inside that home every day to care for him. She says she sees opportunity in politics.
As an immigrant, as a woman, as a liberal, I can participate and become part of democracy. And I cannot just stand on the sidelines and not be part of the change. This is a passion project.
The Liberals still need to nominate about half of their candidates to have a full slate. The election campaign will officially start either at the end of August or early September. Emily.
Thank you, Ian. That's CBC's Ian Fraze. Well, there may be an end in sight for Manitoba's liquor strike. The union representing liquor workers met with its employer today, and while the two sides didn't reach a deal, they were provided with a way out. CBC's Bartley Kievis explains.
On the 25th day of Manitoba's liquor strike, members of the Manitoba Government and General Employees Union marched outside a liquor mart on Dakota Street in Winnipeg. The union and Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries can't agree on wage increases, so an independent conciliator suggested going straight to binding arbitration instead of waiting the full 60 days allowed under Manitoba law. In a statement, Liquor and Lotteries President Jerry Sewell said the Crown Corporation is ready to allow an arbitrator to choose a deal. He said the conciliator has provided a clear pathway to end this summer strike so we can immediately get back to the business of serving the Manitobans that count on us. The union says it'll only agree to binding arbitration under parameters that move the needle on wage increases. MGU President Kyle Ross says Liquor and Lotteries has refused to negotiate.
Unfortunately, the employer hasn't moved off their final offer from early July, and they continue to hold at their offer. We're trying to bargain a deal. We're trying to end this. We know Manitobans want to go back to enjoying their summer and enjoying the products from the liquor marts.
This potential end to the strike comes after the labor dispute spilled into the political arena. The Premier complained on Friday the union politicized the dispute. 7 hours later, the minister responsible for liquor and lotteries put this message out on social media.
It's summertime. We know that everyone likes a nice cold drink. But unfortunately, that's not going to be possible this weekend, thanks to the NDP and their union friends.
Smith chastised the NDP for preventing the passage of a bill that would have allowed some liquor to be sold in grocery stores. The NDP called that ridiculous. Meanwhile, the 25-day labor impasse continues to affect businesses. Winnipeg's Half Pints Brewery normally relies on liquor marts for up to half its sales.
We're in the middle of summer. This is the time when we're going to try and save up some money so that we can make it through a really tough winter, to all of a sudden be told, oh, by the way, here's 4 weeks where you're just not going to have anything.
Even with a potential end to labor action, the MGU plans to hold a rally at the Manitoba Legislature Tuesday at noon. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
CBC meteorologist John Sauter joins us now. John, we saw a lot of blue skies here in Winnipeg, but it's a different story up north.
Yeah, sure is, Annalie. Lots of smoke up north. We're going to get right to that. We've got an advisory for air quality, poor air quality in northern Manitoba. This includes the regions around Thompson and Flin Flon, up through Lynn Lake, and then right out to the east for Churchill, Gillam, and Shamattawa and surrounding communities. Now, this is really for tonight into Tuesday. Lots of smoke across the northern prairies going to kind of waft into northern Manitoba, and I do think that some of these smoke advisories will be shifted a little farther south as we get into Tuesday afternoon. You can see the blues and yellows here. That is the widespread smoke that is in the forecast, even as far south as Barons River for Tuesday afternoon. And then as we get into the next 24 hours, we see that continuing across the north, but starting to drift into southern Manitoba. I do think we'll see a hazy sky here in the south tomorrow, more of a smoky condition moving in behind a weather system that moves through on Wednesday. So this is Wednesday around supper time, and it's after that that we'll start to see that heavier smoke across southern Manitoba. Here is the frontal system that is associated with a northern low right now, and as that moves on through the north tonight, the winds shift behind it, and that is what is bringing the smoke in. You can see in the south, we just don't have very much cloud at all. Beautiful high today of 26 degrees. That's our current temperature. Southwest winds currently is 17, gusting as high as 30 kilometers per hour through the day. That frontal system I just talked about in that northern low will actually move through central Manitoba early on Tuesday. Look at Winnipeg right on the edge of the showers. I have a chance of a shower early in the morning, but the chance is higher for areas like Gimli and Pinawa, Lac du Bonnet, and then out into northwestern Ontario. Once that moves through, we are left with a pretty sunny sky, kind of a sun-cloud mix, and then the next system moves in on Wednesday. And by Wednesday morning, we're looking at showers and storms moving through in the morning. And as that system moves through, we will have more showers on through the day and on through the night on Wednesday night, and very windy conditions as well on Wednesday behind that system. I see potential for gusts higher than 70 kilometers per hour. Tomorrow morning, a slight chance of a shower, 18 degrees, and then a sun cloud mix and 28 in the afternoon. Here's a look at the communities tomorrow with widespread smoke. Could see a morning shower, Norway House and east, and then just that smoky condition here across the south. It'll be a sun cloud mix and a warmer day, 26 to 28 in the southwest, a morning shower around Gimli, slight chance in Winnipeg as well, but Pinawa, Lac du Bonnet, a morning shower, then more like afternoon showers with a risk of a storm in parts of northwestern Ontario.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in the world, and Manitoba's no exception. It's a mix of tennis, badminton, and ping pong, and it can be played on an indoor or outdoor court. For Dawn and Gloria Kropla, pickleball is their way of life. They've converted their basement into the Prairie Pickleball Shop, Manitoba's only pickleball supply store. CBC's Jim Acapito stopped by their store in St. James.
I'm in sunny St. James at the Prairie Pickleball Shop. It's Manitoba's only Prairie Pickleball supplier. Let's find out what they have in store. Ooh, I like the mat.
Hi there, welcome to Prairie Pickleball.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Jim.
I'm Don. Nice to meet you too.
Don, can we take a look at your shop?
Sure can. Come on in.
You have a pickleball store in your home, which makes me think you're super passionate about pickleball. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, well, we've had the business about 8.5 years now. Yeah, we started playing and then we decided, hey, there's nowhere around to get pickleball equipment. Let's give it a try.
And Gloria, can you tell me a little bit about the first time you played? Because you said it was an interesting time.
It was an interesting time. Don and I had just learned how to play down in Arizona, and we thought, okay, we'll go out on our own and play. And there was a woman, she was 77, and the gentleman was 82. Well, they kind of schooled us. I think we lost 11-2, and we were just like, oh, we've got some stuff to learn. We thought it would be quite easy, but it's actually an easy game to start. It's just really hard to perfect.
Why was it so important to start something like this for, Manitobans?
Because there, like a lot of things, there's a lot of crap online. People are buying a lot of crap online, and we thought, well, we can help out by bringing in some quality equipment, offering people really affordable prices, and hopefully great customer service.
Oh my gosh!
It's mine.
Oh, sorry.
So obviously, there's something about playing pickleball, which is why you got into it. What does that do for you? What is playing pickleball like, whether it be for fun? I don't know if you're playing tournaments. What is it like for you?
For me, it's just as much about the social aspect as it is about the physical aspect of it. Pickleball was a big part of my recovery after going through cancer. That's when I discovered pickleball and got into pickleball. So it played a huge part in my recovery. So it's called the shovel return.
What does that say about the future of pickleball here?
Oh, it's nothing but good stuff. I mean, I guess what's holding it back really is just the facilities, just lack of facilities. We just need more indoor facilities, especially, and outdoor facilities. Like you said, they've opened up some new ones. I never envisioned my retirement looking like this, so it really, no, it's been really great. Like I said, I'm having lots of fun. Gloria and I are both having lots of fun, and so yeah, it's been great.
Coming up, it's now the deadliest wildfire in the U.S. in more than a century. Thousands have been displaced from their homes in Maui. Dozens have died, and Hawaiians are bracing for more bad news. We'll have that story after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. The wildfire that devastated Hawaii's second largest island last week is now the deadliest in the U.S. in more than a century. Thousands have been displaced from their homes in Maui, and at least 96 people have died. But with many still missing for days now, Hawaiians are bracing for more bad news. CBC's Lindsay Duncombe reports from Honolulu.
The work is grim and slow. National Guard troops go house to house with cadaver dogs searching for victims. Families of the missing in agony.
I'm still looking for friends and close family.
The Federal Emergency Agency is sending additional crews to help.
We have sent more personnel as well as more cadaver dogs to come into the area, and they are working in conjunction with the Maui Fire Department and the Sheriff's Office to make sure that we are doing this in a very methodical way, but one that is also very respectful.
The New York Times is reporting firefighters didn't have enough access to water to fight the fire. The infrastructure overcome by flames. Frustration about the emergency response is growing.
There are sirens in place and warnings in place for hurricanes and tsunamis. I don't know if those warnings are typically used for other natural disasters, but they weren't in this case. We certainly weren't hearing any sirens or being warned in any sort of way that there was something this large happening.
More frustration as people who lost everything are unable to access their homes, many staying in shelters.
They want to get back and they want to see what's going on with their homes. But right now, we got to make sure that they have a safe place to stay, that they have access to meals, to health care.
Everything is made more difficult because Maui is an island. Hawaii already has a housing crisis. Speaking today, the head of FEMA said that finding places for people to live will require every tool in the toolbox. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Honolulu.
Meanwhile, hundreds of people are being flown to safety amid wildfires in the Northwest Territories. An airlift was carried out last night in the town of Hay River, where fire was blocking the road out. Evacuations of several communities have been underway for 2 days now. Officials are reporting significant damage to buildings. The town of Fort Smith is currently under threat. The Premier has called in outside help with a full military contingent set to be in place tomorrow. At least 48 people have died in India's Himalayan region after heavy monsoon rains triggered floods and landslides. Rescuers are struggling to reach many people still trapped under piles of debris. Most roads are flooded and many homes have been washed away or are under mounds of mud. There are worries there could be more flash floods and landslides. The heavy downpour remains relentless with no respite in the forecast until the end of the week. The military junta in the African nation of Niger says the president it deposed will be prosecuted for treason. That brought an angry response from Niger's neighbors. Mohamed Bazoum was overthrown July 26th. West Africa's regional bloc has said it could resort to force to have him reinstated by activating a standby contingent. Its statement today calls Niger's announcement shocking and a provocation. Just yesterday, a foreign delegation met with the junta and emerged saying the military leaders were open to a diplomatic resolution. Still to come, John Sauter will tell us what kind of weather's on the horizon, and we'll have the Daily Lift. That's coming up after the break.
Well, tomorrow may start with a shower. We're just on the southern edge of a frontal system. Otherwise, it's a sun-cloud mix and a warm day at 28. And then some showers, very windy conditions on Wednesday. That's followed by a few dry days. Friday is going to be a warm one. Not really a chance of showers on Friday, but there is a chance of showers as we head into the second half of the weekend on Sunday and Monday. Could see some storms by this time again next week. St. Pierre Joly Frog Follies Festival is back for its 53rd year. The annual 4-day festival just wrapped up yesterday.
Yes, and it featured a parade, musical acts, reptile exhibits, and more. CBC Radio-Canada stopped in to check out the festivities. Here's your daily lift.
Well, it's nice to support the Francophone communities and to come here and have fun in rural Manitoba and St. Pierre for the Frog Follies.
It's been awesome. They had a show, they gave kids candy, they had a parade. Now we have a petting zoo, we have a splash pad. It's just perfect.
The amphibians, they play such an important part in our nature, and there's still so many people who are afraid of them, and it's one of my passions, so breaking down those stigmas.
I love the parade, and I love my Nana, and I love spending time with her.
Oh, it was wonderful, yes. They got lots of candy, right guys? Yeah.
Aw, cute little frogs there jumping in the tank. It's all about the frogs.
Yeah, it has to be about the frogs at the Frog Follies. That festival's been going on a long, long time.
And apparently there's lots of frogs in the area.
Yeah.
That was CBC Winnipeg News at 6. We'll be back at 11. Hope you have a great evening.
See you later.